Hello everyone. We're just waiting for yes. So I have actually sent you request on your other account.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm really sorry for this delay. I had a little issue connecting my phone with
Yeah, but
Instagram. So you,
can you hear me well?
yes, I can hear you well. Can you?
Yes, I can pretty much hear you well. I think last video there was some issue with the audio. So I just want to be a little sure this time. You can hear me pretty well, right? There's no problem.
Yes, yes, yes. I think the last time you had a little issue with your network, and hence
Uh,
there must have been that issue with the voice.
I want to be clear this time because I got to know from a lot of people that somehow people not were not really able to hear my voice. But I'm pretty sure that abhi to there's no problem, right? So we can probably begin,
Yes, yes.
right?
Just give me a sec, okay? Okay, just give me a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, let's begin.
So all set, all good.
Yes, likely,
Yes,
in all likelihood, today is an odd day.
it's an odd day. Why is that?
Just somehow I'm not able to connect my things today very well, which is a least possibility with me. Anyways, we should continue and we should begin without any delay because Instagram allows us a little duration, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so hello everyone. Today is the episode 11 of Mind Talkies, and we have with us Miss Ramneet Kaur. We're actually having her for the third time. And today's session is a sequel session. She is a psychologist and a cognitive hypnotic coach. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about coping and ways to cope more healthily and effectively with stress. So we have already had her for two sessions, and in the previous two sessions, so I'll probably give a quick recap of what we have really done in previous
Yes.
sessions for people to really follow up with that. So, in the very first episode, we had spoken about mental health, stress, need to act, to stress. We also spoke about the nature of stress, different kinds of stress, what kind of stress, which is distress, which is again something that people really need to be attending to. Then in the subsequent session, the second session, we spoke about the signs and symptoms of stress and the repercussion of distress. In today's session, we are going to be precisely talking about coping. And we're also going to be talking about the self-guided mantras, which
Yes.
Miss Ramneet heavily preach. And she believes that these mantras are actually going to help us deal with stress on day-to-day basis. Is that correct? So I think I have lost you. Can you see me? Hello. So there's some network error.
Hey, sorry
No
for
problem.
that.
Is it
Yes. We should continue now.
wonderful? So, since I've already given a quick recap, so I think let's quickly begin with the session, right? So,
Definitely.
what I believe is that we have already understood that stress is really dangerous, and we've also sort of understood that somehow it is very important for us to effectively and more healthily cope with stress, right? Rather than neglecting it, it is quite important for us to deal with stress effectively. So, can you hear me? I think somewhere the video is it okay?
Is it crashing according to you?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it
it
is
is
okay.
actually
It is
it is,
okay.
it is
It's
okay now.
okay. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it is
wonderful.
okay.
Ms. Ramneet, in recent years, the conviction has shown that it is more about how we cope that influences our overall psychological well-being, our social functioning, and our overall, the way we are actually dealing with stressful situation on day-to-day basis, more than what we experience. So, people have actually paid more emphasis on the ways an individual cope with stress than the way he or she experiences stress, right? So, my very first question to you is going to be about coping. What is
Okay.
coping, and why is coping so recurrently used and emphasized along with stress?
Okay. So simply put, coping is nothing beyond your mechanism, your method, or your technique as an individual to deal with stress. Now, when it comes to dealing with stress, it could be any ways. It could be a way where you just fly away from the situation. It could be a way when you literally fight the situation and then deal with it. It could be any other way you just stay with the flow and let it go and just let it sway the way it goes and let the situation deal with your behavior yourself and just do nothing about it, and that is how you believe that you're coping with it because you are just letting it be. So these are three different ways that any individual would want to cope with any stressful situation. And a stressful situation could be anything. It could be merely the traffic jam that you're traveling into. It could be an exam coming next day. It could be your son or your child having some sickness because of which he is struggling in his studies. It could be anything for any human being. And stress begins from a tiny ant size and it goes to a huge hill, I believe, because it could be any ways. It could be any ways for any individual, and the perception of an individual literally defines how an individual is identifying a stressful situation as to himself or herself. So when it comes to coping, we are mainly talking about how we deal with it, how we let the stress not affect us, and at the very same time, the situation goes away. And when it goes away, or even if it stays, because coronavirus is a situation which is staying for a really long time, how you're dealing with it is more important. How you're coping with it, and yet being functional in your daily life routine is important, and that is what we call as coping. So, like we were talking about Shreya, Endler's theory of coping mechanisms, right?
Right. Right. Right.
The task oriented, the emotion oriented, the vibrance oriented. They're all again talking about, when you talk about task oriented theory, what is it? It is simply about letting the tasks happen. Correct me if I am wrong, okay?
Right.
And then deal with the situation according to what best can be done.
Right.
Now, when it comes to emotion oriented, you are just wanting your emotions to be at role and them playing the job, then let the emotions play the job, uh, and just deal with your stressful situation. So my emotions are dealing well, whether I'm crying, whether I'm hoping, whether I'm just talking about it to myself, whether I'm praying. Praying is also an essential thing, especially in the Indian society, where people believe that they're trying to cope with the stressful situation.
True. True.
Then it comes to avoidance. Now, here you might not be either trying to fight, but just flying off the situation and
Mhm.
let it be in its place. Okay, the situation is there and it will pass. Let it be. Right? You want to give your feedback about this very same?
No, I think what I understood from what you're saying is coping could be defined as a very dynamic situation specific response to stress, right? Or it can alternatively be defined as our concrete set of responses to a stressful situation, which is mostly intended to either resolve a problem or to put us to a little less stress than what we would or what we would anticipate to go through, right? And what I also understand is there are three different sort of strategies that people adopt. One being task oriented, another being emotion oriented, and third one being avoidance oriented, according to how they feel that a particular stressful situation can be dealt with. Is that put
Yes,
correct? Right,
yes.
wonderful. So, the very next thing that I wanted to discuss with you about is that recurrent researches, and I'm specifically talking about the researches which were done by Kubasa, right? He had very
Okay.
specifically spoken about hardiness, which he believes is a set of beliefs that we hold about ourselves and about the world around us and the sort of interaction that happens between us and the world, right? And in talking, in lieu of that, he had also spoken about the different sort of personality traits that people who depicts higher level of stress but lower level of illness projects. So he has spoken about three hardiness trait is what he has actually called them. There are three C's. He's talking about control, challenge, and commitment, right? So what I want to understand from you is that do you think that people who possess these personality traits are the ones who are less prone or less vulnerable to get affected by distressful situation?
Well, at some point, definitely yes. But then if
Okay.
you reach out to these people after a few recurrent stressful situations, you realize that they do not have a way of coping with their stressful situations, but rather they just feel that they've become stone-like and nothing which is concerned with any stressful situation can bother them because they've made themselves uh, apparently very strong, but in a way very dealing and very situational that whatever may come, I am not going to be affected. So they may not be affected for a series of stressful situations at a go, but there is definitely going to come one point of time where they are affected at a great deal. And so if this comes in role play with a person who's really submissive, this
Okay.
person is representing the characteristic of being hardy. So hardiness is there, and the individual is not reacting to the stressful situation, whatever may come, and just showing to be perfectly fine, not affected, least bothered, and no emotional responses at all with the situation. Maybe this individual would try to deal in a task oriented manner. Maybe, not really sure. Because if the situation is really very critical as well as practical, this individual may deal with it. But then you would
Correct.
realize that if you reach out to this individual and talk personally, after having a good rapport building, and this person is opening up, his ways of dealing and strategies of coping or coping mechanisms would come out to be such that he is definitely able to deal today, but then it is going to have an impact on his or her emotional health or mental health, because there is a pent up layer of all those situations that you've dealt with
Okay.
using your trait as hardiness.
Okay.
Right. So it is definitely a way of dealing, definitely a way of coping through the situations. And it works for many individuals, not that it does not work. But when a major conflict has arisen, major situation which requires you to really cope very, very well has arisen, you may just fail through it and you may just want the situation to pass. So flight could be a way that
Right.
you use as a mechanism then. Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
if you pick up an example, okay, somebody is very effectively dealing with her exams and also very effectively dealing with all the tantrums and teasing behavior, bullying around the school. This person is very studious. So, there is a tendency for her to get teased off because of her being very punctual and very good at studies. Yet, she's right now able to deal. When you talk to her after her school years, then after her bachelor's, and then after her master's, when now she is at an age that she's willing to talk about what happened in her past and how she
Right.
coped up with the situations, you'll find out that it was not easy. It was really very, very hard. And this had made this individual react in that zone of hardiness. That yes, I can deal with it and I will deal with it no matter what. And eventually, it definitely goes off when you realize that there are different more ways of dealing with situations. And
Okay.
coping
Okay.
with different situations can be more ways. So, emotional coping may not be one for these individuals, definitely. Avoidance is also somewhere down the line, I believe, correlated to the hardiness trait. Because even when
Right.
you're portraying yourself to be a hard individual, you're also avoiding things at the very same time so that they are not affecting you. One. And two, you are just portraying yourselves as a personality. You do not need help from other individuals to cope with those stressful
Right.
situations.
Right.
We say that when you are into extreme stress and there is a situation that you're not able to cope up with, reach out to an expert, reach out to wise people who can give you the best advices in the world. But these individuals may not want to go out to them right away. So, unless they come to an age where they are mature enough and smart enough to realize that yes, we do need help, right?
Wonderful. So I think now that we're speaking about how can an individual really cope with stressful situation more effectively and efficiently, it is very important that we also speak about what we actually intend to speak about in today's session is the way guided mantras really work, right? So I see you as someone who believes that these guided mantras can really help people at least deal with day-to-day problems, right? Whether it is about dealing with examination stress, whether it is about dealing with any sort of a job stress or relationship difficulties, I believe that you suggest that all of these guided mantras really work well, right? So how would you
Yeah.
want to tell everyone about how does these guided mantras, how does one really start, and what sort of situations are can really one benefit from when it comes to these guided mantras?
Okay. So these guided mantras are a very special thing. Why, if you ask me, they are not coming from spiritual sciences. They are simply called mantras by me because they become the mantras for your life. They become like very small tactics and ways of dealing with stressful situations. And you deal with them in a complex and a very, let's say, intellectual way, but then they are very, very effective. So, one of them is a when then statement. They are coming off from the NLP technique, which is the neuro linguistic programming. So, where we use the brain sciences, where we know which modalities are best to use for individuals. We experiment, we work, we uh, figure out what is the best way. And then you interact with these modalities in terms of mindfulness, in terms of hypnotherapy at times. Also, they are a part of the CBT technique, which is the cognitive behavior therapy. So, how they are working as a part of CBT is when you are implementing these mantras in your routine life, they are actually gradually changing your behavior and modifying it into a better way that you want or is the best suited to your personality. So, how when then works is, so when then means there's a when and there is a then. The when is where one statement is starting from. This one statement, which will be completely formed using the when and the then, is going to be your problem statement. So I am in a stressful situation, and I have a problem that when I realize that my bedroom is really untidy, then I feel anxious. So this is supposedly my stressful situation because I become anxious because my bedroom is untidy and I need to clean it.
Right.
So rather than being anxious, if you become more productive, so you need to now you know that when your bedroom is untidy, you become anxious or you feel anxious, and this is a problem statement, this is a problem situation which you have put into a specified statement. So now you know that this is your problem. How would you know that this is your problem? You will have to really work on it with your own self. So when you do not have a professional like me or you helping an individual, you have to really introspect yourselves and find out कि कब मेरे साथ प्रॉब्लम होती है
True.
और तब क्या होता है. So when is कब, then तब, जब भी मेरे साथ ऐसा होता है तभी मेरा ये रिएक्शन होता है. So when has to be the situation in which a problem is arising, and then has to be what happens, what is your emotional reaction, what do you feel that time, how do you react at this point of time. So now, when I introspected myself and I found out कि हाँ इस situation में I feel the worst and I really get very anxious, and then it is very disturbing for me to try and clean the entire room because it is very untidy, and I have not probably given my inputs into the bedroom entire day. Whatever. So this is a very trivial situation that I've picked up.
Right.
Now I come to a solution statement which is going to become a mantra. So I try to reformulate the statement and figure out how will it help me. Okay, so when my bedroom is untidy, then I recall how fine it looks when I work on it. For
Okay.
example, this works for me, or it could be a little more crisp. Then I realize my productivity or my speed. When I realize my productivity or my speed at doing the task, I definitely know that cleaning is also again an easier task for me.
Right.
Now
Right.
I'm not feeling anxiety in myself. I'm not feeling ki ab kya, kaise. I'm not having those questions how, where, when, why. I'm not having all those question marks in my head now. But I am having a full stop or an exclamation mark where I know that this is something I can do. And now I set in to do it. But what needs to be done is every time you are having this situation and you're having a negative thought, then you definitely need to repeat the mantra, which is your solution oriented mantra. Also, you need to repeat this mantra 24 by 7 at least for a week, however many times you can. Now, if you ask me what is the secret behind this and how is it going to work when I recall it, when you're recalling it, you are actually learning it by heart, right? So, when you're learning it by heart, you are going to definitely react the very same way. Supposedly, I tell myself back and through that I am a very dependable person.
Okay.
So now, what happens is if one of my siblings is given me a responsibility, and due to the ego issue or the clashes, or maybe that I just do not want to listen to the sibling of mine and be a dependable person for her,
Right.
what I end up realizing is that I am dependable. So whatever it be, I'm still having to be dependable, and I have to be meeting the roles of the responsibility that has been put through me. So when you learn by heart whatever thing you repeat to yourself. So I repeat to myself back and forth.
So I think you will have to repeat everything whatever
Settle
you learn.
down and start feeling calmer and um,
Can you hear me?
Uh, you said something. There is some network issue, right?
Yes, yes,
On your end?
there was some network. Might you might have to uh, you'll have to probably restate everything, not everything, but where we were talking about how effective it becomes when people start practicing it 24/7. Now it's
Okay.
better
So what
actually.
I meant was that hmm,
Yes, go on, go on.
I can see it is better now. It was a little too disturbing earlier. Okay. So, what I meant was whenever you learn anything by heart, you repeat it to yourself. Why do we say that when you go off to bed, just tell yourself that I am calm, I am peaceful, I am grateful, and I am going to sleep a peaceful sleep, and then you actually end up feeling peaceful and sleep nicely. Because when you're telling it to
True.
yourself, your subconscious mind is actually containing the information. Where is all the information that we've learned contained? It goes to the subconscious mind, right? Unconscious cannot store things. Conscious cannot always have things on its own. Because right now, when we are talking to each other, we are using our conscious mind, right? So it cannot always have a house full of stored information. The information is coming from where it is stored. It is stored in the subconscious mind. Similarly, when you tell yourself something repeatedly, it is going to get stored in your subconscious mind. When your subconscious mind is
Mhm.
responsible for your ways of thinking, parents have always told me that you have to obey your elders no matter what. My subconscious mind has heard this n number of times by date, and it is going to
Right.
react when the situation is coming in an obedient manner because I have learned, I have heard this plenty of times. So even if my instincts say that don't do it, I do not want to do it for an XYZ elder, but I will do it because my body, my mind, they are connected and they've been built in this manner. They have recalled and learned it by heart that this is what is your uh, responsibility to do whenever an elder is in front of you. So
Right.
likewise, it goes for the mantra. So this
Okay.
was one
Okay.
mantra. Yeah.
Probably cut you in between. What I understand from what you're saying is that first mantra that you're proposing people to really follow is the when and then is the first
Yes.
mantra, right? Whenever they're facing a stressful situation, what is the alternative course of action that they're going to adopt? One, and secondly, they're also can they also anticipate the probable outcome? Because I feel that when we know कि अगर मैं ऐसे करूंगी, so maybe I'll start probably dealing with stressful situations more effectively. Does that also come under the
Yes.
parameters of? Okay,
Yes.
okay,
It definitely comes when you are actually writing down the solution oriented statement, keeping in mind that it is very specific and it has really very specific reactions and behaviors of yours, which you are actually performing when it comes to a situation likewise. You also have to look forward. So you have to think a step ahead and then get into the present and try to hypothetically imagine that हाँ ये होगा तो ये definitely हो जाएगा. So if you think a step ahead ki okay right now I am becoming anxious in this situation, but what do I do to not become anxious or maybe behave in a more productive manner than being anxious at this given situation? What will help me not become anxious? So maybe for some people, even in an untidy room when you have to clean the mess, listening to music may help. So,
okay.
for some individual, it may be like when I see my room untidy and messed up, then I realize I can listen to the music. So when you listen to the music, you can obviously listen to the music simultaneously, which is making you feel better and calmer and clean your mess.
Right,
Right.
right,
So for different individuals, it really works in a very, very different way. And for anyone, it could be a different approach. It could be a different behavior, it could be a different reaction. You just have to realize what works best for you. And which is why I said that introspection, the self introspection part is very important. The more you self introspect and figure out what next is best, what next is best, in any situation, what is best suited for a whole big cluster of emotions, maybe, which are creating an issue for me, and which cluster of emotions will actually ease mine, and in this given
right,
situation,
right.
right?
Okay.
So,
One question,
this,
another question that I had before we actually move to the second mantra that you feel that can help really, that can help people really. I want to understand, how are these self mantras different from the positive affirmations that are usually recommended by us to people? So, we seldom tell people that you need to think about 5 positive statements, which can really help you look at yourself a little better, or probably that can actually help you deal with certain problems that you're undergoing. Uh, it could be either temporary or permanent in life, right? That can actually help you cope up with those problems. So how are these self-guided mantras different from the positive affirmations that we usually end up referring to our clients?
so they are not really, really very different in terms of what is the end result. But
Okay.
the self-healing mantras are far more effective. They are going to give you results in a lesser period of time and more effectively. The reason being, when you ask an individual to affirm themselves. So, when I ask individuals to affirm themselves, I would also tell them to count on their strengths and then tell themselves that I am a conscious being, I am very, very independent, or whatever is best suited for the individual in the situation. Yet, when you talk about this mantra, just this mantra right now, if you're talking about, this is very, very specific. So, keeping in mind what are the terms, what are the modalities, what are the techniques which are going to work best for your brain, for your mind, to collect information and to react upon it. The NLP techniques work upon these formation of these mantras, right? So they actually figure out specific details and specific information which is going to work best. And when we are specificizing, we are actually not keeping anything vague for our mind. So when I keep it vague for my mind that I am conscious, now my mind may ask me, conscious, okay, what, when, where, कब
Okay.
क्यों बोल
Okay.
रहे हो तुम मुझे? Why are you
Right.
telling me that I'm a conscious being? I know, of course, that I'm a conscious being. So even mind has the ability to cross question. You may have had sessions and times of self introspection where you tell something to your mind and your mind cross questions. Oh, really? Does it happen?
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. I am telling myself that नहीं रमी तुमसे हो जाएगा. Mind बोलेगा कैसे होगा तुम्हें तो आता ही नहीं है.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is
Right.
natural, right? But जब तुमने specify कर दिया that in this situation I'm going to feel likewise, and also to add, when you're writing a problem-oriented statement, you're definitely feeling it because you have felt it, you've lived it, you've faced it earlier. Also, when you're writing the solution-oriented mantra or the statement, you have to
Right.
sit there and imagine in a wholesome manner. You could close your eyes, you could let your eyes be open, and realize how it would be when you actually have the solution in picture.
True. True.
So I tell myself, okay, okay, so when my room is messed up, I realize that I can play music. And I repeat this to myself so many times. And right now, I am actually just checking whether it is resonating with my mind or no. Is it possible for me to realize that when my room is messed, I can listen to the music? I will check it with my brain. I have to repeat it at least 5 times and check with my brain. So often it happens that the client would say, no, it does not really seem to work for me because it is not resonating.
Right.
So okay, let's check a next emotion. What can you feel of next could fit in this situation? So okay. I can rest after I clean the mess, is what I feel. Okay, so when I think and realize that my room is messed up, then I tell myself that rest is just half an hour away. And then you
Right.
try to repeat it to yourself for at least 5, 10 times and see if it resonates. So, whichever statement is resonating with you is the one which you write down on a piece of paper, on your notepad, in your workplace, on your mobile phone, in your hand. Also, there is a way of remembering. Keep a stone or a very small, piece of token or in your pocket, which in your jeans or wherever, which will remind you to repeat it. So on your phone screen, when it is written, whenever you open the lock of your phone screen, it is there. When I see this, then this happens. So what is happening is automatically you're reading it once, and when you read it once, you will realize कि डॉक्टर ने तो बोला था कि आप इसको 5 बार repeat करो, right? And then it becomes a mantra for you because it is becoming memorized. So it would probably become memorized by day 3. And
Right.
when it is memorized by day 3, by the seventh day, your body will start to react and resonate with it. It will react the very same way, right? It actually works for many stressful situations. I won't say that for deeper negative emotions also it is going to work at large, but for stressful situations, it definitely is going to work. So when I step out of the house, I become very conscious because I realize that I'm not safe now because I am stepping out of the house. At the very same time, I create a solution oriented statement. And when I am stepping outside the house, then I realize that I am all safe in my gadgets or in my PPE kit or in my mask. Or I tell myself, then I realize I am safe with my mask. So, whatever makes you feel best, whatever makes you feel comfortable, and realize that the stressful situation is not really that harmful because you are still secure. So, some situation is carrying a negative emotion and hence then is being reacted in a negative emotion. You just have to change that. You have to really connect whether it is actually resonating with your mind or no. So when
Right.
a solution-oriented statement is resonating with your mind, you can work upon it. And even the next,
So one one question that came into my head was that so of course the range of stressful situation can really vary from probably less severe to more severe, and also people can actually undergo through multiple stressful situations in a day, right?
yeah,
So for every situation, for every stressful situation, everyone needs to create a if then statement.
this was the when. Then the next one is actually if then.
That's all.
But the next mantra is if then only. So I'm not going to take forward any more mantras because implementing one of them also asks, so one should be able to do it. And let's look forward to the feedback of individuals. So for every situation where you are getting troubled, which is creating problem for you when you are mentally getting disturbed, कि because मेरा reaction और मेरी feeling ये होती है, I'm not able to work effectively. Then you need to create the statement for yourself, and you're able
Then
to
comes
create this. I'm sorry, repeat.
so when you're saying that whenever an individual is going through an emotionally bombarding situation, right? And by emotionally bombarding, I am mostly meaning a negative situation. Then the person needs to follow an if-then statement. Is that what you're saying?
Then the person needs to follow a when-then statement if it is very,
Okay.
very recurring in your lifestyle. So for a situation which is very, very recurring, you can work on the when-then statement to resolve your issues. So, okay, if I go to the next mantra is the if-then mantra. Now, here the specific terms that we are taking in account are the if and the then. So, if I am repeating the same example that I just did. If I step out of the house, then I may fall sick. This is a
Okay.
problem statement because I feel that when I step out of the house, then I fall sick. So
Okay.
this is the problem. And what has happened now is because I feel this way, I think this way, it may have happened once that I went out of the house and I felt sick and returned back home and I had to take care of myself. But when you actually think over this point for such a long time that जब भी मैं बाहर निकलती हूँ मैं बीमार पड़ जाती हूँ, जब भी मैं बाहर निकलती हूँ मैं बीमार पड़ जाती हूँ, you've repeated this to yourself, you've repeated this to your friends, family, colleagues, uh, parents, mentors, so many other people, that this has gotten note memorized in your brain and your mind. And now it is impacting your body because it is showing the same reactions. You've told it to yourself so many times now. सो नेचुरली हो सकता है कि जब भी आप बाहर जाओ आपको हेडेक हो जाता है और आपको लगता है कि आप बीमार हो गए हो. Just an example, and this could be a possible situation. So now I am looking ahead for a solution oriented statement, which will actually change my behavior and my body's behavior towards myself in a given situation. If I go out of the house, then I feel cheerful, then I feel good, then I rejoice. So I am actually doing what? Like in affirmations, we completely form a positive statement. Here we are taking the negative statement also, the negative problem creating statement, and then leading it to the solution oriented statement and creating the solution with a positive term. So this emotion which is in the solution oriented statement is a positive emotion. The positive reaction, the positive behavior, it is definitely going to be a good thing which is going to be there in the solution oriented statement which resonates with me. And how I will know it resonates with me? जो मेरे साथ पहले होता था वही अब होगा. So if I have never felt cheerful stepping out of the house, I'm not going to feel cheerful again if I write it in my solution or statement and recall it to myself. I have to find out ऐसा पहले कब हुआ है या पहले भी होता था क्या मेरे साथ. So I realized that earlier, before the pandemic, when I used to go out of the house, I used to feel very cheerful, very relaxed, very jolly, and very happy. And I used to return back in a very more energetic way. So I know that these emotions can work for me because these are a list of emotions and feelings and reactions which I used to have. If I didn't used to have, rather if I used to feel lethargic and I used to feel tired and I used to feel upset, then those emotions would have to take a different place. So I used to feel just calm or just feel better, just finish with my tasks and relieved. These emotions. So whichever emotion, whichever reaction and feeling is best suited in a given situation, keeping in mind your past behavior, your past reactions, your past positive feelings. So, as to replace the current negative feeling and emotion. You getting my
Okay.
point?
Okay.
So, when then and if then situations are really similar to each other, they are not really difficult, which is why I picked these two only up for today. So, again, I am repeating, we are calling it a mantra because they become your mantras for life. So I tell myself that Ramneet, you are a very dependable person when it comes to XYZ work. And I tell myself every day to keep myself in the firm position and assured that Ramneet, you are dependable and you can easily do it. So you have to be confident about yourselves. Now it has become a mantra. Why it has become a mantra for me? Because I took a week about 10 days time to just recall this and remember the situation. But now every time when a similar situation is coming and I have to face it and I have to deal with it, this mantra is going to just come on the roof of my head and automatically repeat
Right.
to myself. Right? So things become easier, right? The situations which I have to cope with become more easier than remaining
True.
stressful as they already were. Right. So these are main two mantras which I really want people to try and work upon. If needed, I can give a step-by-step picture for you and a write-up for you so that you can just post it and people can see and
Yeah,
try and
that
implement.
will really be helpful. So I think one thing that probably we can definitely suggest people is to try these if then and when then mantras, and probably after that they can give us a feedback in terms of whether or not these mantras are really being effective. And if at all we feel that probably one or two mantras can be taken up in the next session, because we will be having you for the very last session as well, which is going to be a wrap up session for you completely. But definitely, I mean, I would definitely urge everyone who will be probably watching our video to try out these mantras and then give us a quick feedback. right? Or whether or
Yeah.
not, because of course when you try these mantras, then the more practical problems are being faced, right? And then those practical problems and the questions can then be taken up in the subsequent session, right? I have lost you. Can you hear me? So
which are
again,
very
I lost
effective
you.
for stressful situations. You were saying something, you got disconnected, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So I think I lost you,
Can't
but
hear
now
you.
now you're back.
Hmm.
Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So I think probably then these two mantras could be one of the starting point for people, right? Whatever that they're currently facing, situation that they're currently facing, can really be. Can you hear me properly? I feel that the voice is breaking. Is it?
I also felt it was. I think now it's okay. Is it still breaking?
No, it's perfect. So I think these two mantras are something that I feel is good to go with. I although there was one question that was initially asked by somebody, and I don't see that person anymore with us in the live session. We can definitely take up this question for her, so that in case she views our video later on, she can definitely find answer to her question. So it is
Of
by
course.
Chandani. So she's asking, मैं बहुत जल्दी परेशान टेंशन में आ जाती हूँ. What should I do about it?
So when I
So
get
I think
easily stressed, then I realize I know my coping strategies. Then I realize I can do yoga. Then I realize I can do meditation. Then I just go off to bed and grab a small nap or grab a good meal for myself. It's a little bit snack this way.
okay.
Or it could also be if they put in the second mantra. If I easily get tensed, then I recall I have lots of work to do. Or then I realize I have more effective ways of dealing. Anything which is really resonating with you, anything which is really effective for you, a very good emotion, a very good reaction that you have actually experienced in the past, or you are willing to experience at the present, and working on that emotion as well. So, if I recommend people to cope with stress using yoga, or I ask people to become more mindful of themselves and practice some small strategies of mindfulness based therapy, then how are people going to do it? People have to really go about it by practicing it at least once and feel the calm, the composed feeling, and that sense of relaxation. Only then will I be able to ask people to put into that picture the very same feeling and emotion, right? To put into that mantra to let themselves feel that way.
Okay, 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 wonderful. I feel that that would definitely answer her question. In case Chandni, you feel that uh, it does not, then probably we'll probably take up this question again for you in the next session, right? So I think
Definitely.
in today's session we spoke about coping. Why is coping more important, and what are the different strategies that people probably unconsciously or unintentionally use when it comes to
Yes.
coping. What are the different coping strategies that they can definitely use, especially when it comes to dealing with the stressful situation more effectively, right? So I think probably let's wrap up today's session, right? And it was
All
wonderful.
right.
Thank you so much for giving us such beautiful strategies. We're definitely going to get back to you with a great feedback that we will definitely be getting from people. And if at all there are any
Looking
questions
forward to it.
to the strategies that you
Yes.
have proposed, definitely take that up. In the next session, let's probably be more situation specific, and we can
Yes.
definitely talk about a few more mantras that people can really incorporate. Second, we can also talk about different stress management techniques, which is actually what we are intending to speak about in next session. Other than the self-guided
Hmm.
mantra, there are other stress management techniques that one can really
Yes.
incorporate in
Yes.
life, and how can those stress management techniques actually work the same way mantras are going to work. But I believe that there's this one question that I wanted to sort of understand from you, that I believe that like keeping aside the different stress management techniques which runs down from probably relaxation, mindfulness, deep breathing. I feel that these mantras are mostly working with the way you are thinking. Is it correct?
Yes, because the way you are thinking is actually impacting your bodily reactions as well.
Right,
So the
right.
way you think, you are going to react likewise. So I know that a lion would eat me up if I encounter a lion in front of me. And I've
Right.
told this to myself a number of times. So even when I face it, and it might be just completely dead, or it may be an idol of a lion in front of me, I will get scared because I have this thought deep settled in my mind that a lion is going to eat me.
Okay.
Right. Whereas a practical way of thinking would tell me that a lion is only going to be eating me up or something like that if I really encountered it on a very close note, or if it is an animal which is in front of me, if I really try to hurt it. So the ways of feeling. So the more seriously you take any emotion, any feeling, any thought, it
It
is
will.
going to impact you. Yes. So on the other note, definitely when it comes to the other strategies which we will talk about in the next session, which are the coping strategies, are definitely workable. They are definitely going to work. And also, I'm telling you, this is a very complex thing, yet very, very incredible that for different individuals, different strategies work. So these strategies, which I today talked about, the self-healing mantras, work for you when you know that you are in a situation which is complicated on a second level. So you know if I have a first level complicated situation, I change my mood, I involve into music, I involve into new activities, I just go out for a stroll, I just do some yoga, I get into mindfulness, it is working for me. But now one problem has become repetitive and it is not being dealt with by me. What do I do next? Then you can try the self-healing mantras and then they work for you. So when
Right.
problems are actually crossing an extent and they're becoming repetitively dysfunctional for you on a routine, then these work. Also, I would say if any individual is trying these and they are having a problem, they should revert back to you immediately so that we can really reach out to these people and help them through the process at least once, because they can be a little tricky to try and do for the first go, but then they definitely work wonders. They definitely work wonders.
Right. Wonderful. So I think with that note, let's probably wrap up today's session. And definitely, all sort of questions are welcome. And
Yes,
we will definitely give you the feedback. And probably in the subsequent session, we're going to take up more cases. And mostly, we're
yes,
going to also
yes,
share out the feedback of the people that have tried. I will myself try in certain situations, right? And I'll probably
yes,
share
you definitely
that.
should.
Along with that, probably the sort of practical problems that people can really face, so we're going to take
Yeah,
up all of. So thank you so
yes.
much for your
You're
time.
welcome.
Wonderful speaking to you, and thank you so much.
Same here. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to the last concluding session as well.
Yes, same here, same here. All right, bye.
Bye.